Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Madhouse. It's the ReQuest. I am Captain Logan, and joining me tonight, as always, is my buddy Austin, the Day Ghost. Austin has been with me almost every night this week. Austin, thanks for being a trooper and doing, I guess, just one extra show, but it feels like a lot more because we were streaming for 4 hours last night.
Well, I think it's because of that, and then the Monday show got pushed to Tuesday because you guys had a holiday.
Yeah.
So, it feels more condensed.
It's a gauntlet,
so
man.
Messed up on my week.
Sorry about that.
No, that's not what I mean. Because, I stayed the night at my mom's house on Tuesday because she asked me to. It's, completely messed up, where I am in the week, where I'm I feel like it's Monday now, but it's not. So it's oh yeah, it's Thursday. It's so weird.
1 second. I'm not picking up your audio for some reason. Let me fix it.
Oh yeah. Everyone's saying.
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Audio is small.
I'm hearing it. Give me a second, everybody. I'll get this figured out. Oh, I know what it is. It's over on Discord, isn't it? It's because we did a commentary last night and I forgot to change the audio settings. Hold on, folks. Yeah, well, don't keep talking. Nobody can hear you right now.
I'm just a tiny.
Okay, there we go. We fixed it. Sorry about that, everybody.
Except now I'm gonna just whisper the whole time.
I appreciate the trolling. I appreciate the hustle there, Austin. Anyway, well, folks, tonight we're gonna review something that Austin and I have both seen probably numerous times. Unusual for a request because people usually request things that at least one of us.
You people.
What's that now?
No, I just the way you said it was funny. But yeah, normally it's stuff that neither of us have seen. Or
I didn't say you people.
Seen.
I said usually people.
Oh, I thought you said you people.
I don't know.
I thought
I don't know why you're stopping me right now. Usually, people will ask for things that at least one of us has not seen before, and it'll be an introduction to something, and we'll just give you our kind of initial immediate thoughts, having just seen it. But this time, Beck Studios asked for a classic science fiction movie that all of us are very familiar with, and in a franchise that I have talked about numerous times as the reboot movies have come out, the prequel reimagining reboot movies have come out. But tonight we're doing 1968 Planet of the Apes. And weirdly, Austin, I've never done anything on this movie.
Yeah, I was shocked when this came up that you've never reviewed this movie. Because I think I remember you talking, maybe when you did Dawn, that you'd never seen the original. But then, I think I've just seen you talk about it in different videos, so I just assume you've reviewed it.
So when I went to see Dawn, I was paused for a second because I think those titles are out of order. When I went the day I went to see Dawn, I watched the original that afternoon. Which was a really interesting experience, watching those together, and I just fell completely in love with it. So weirdly, I watched Rise at some point, not having seen the original.
Mm. Yeah, and I found, from experience, that Rise is always better when I'm a little bit distanced from the older movies.
Yeah.
Because if I'm too familiar with them, if I've just rewatched any of them, I'm this is that thing where it's kind of constantly referencing stuff and I don't need it to. It jumps out at me more.
It's a little CW like that.
Yeah, some of that stuff jumps out a little bit more if I'm more in the mindset of the stuff. But that is still a good movie.
Yeah, it's fine. I've liked it a little bit less the couple times I've gone back to it, and I think it's the weakest of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of people don't like that last one as well as I do, but I think it's the weakest of them, even including that.
Well, I have the reverse for that, where every time I see Rise, it gets a little lower, and every time I see War, it gets a little higher.
Oh, sure. But I'm talking about the last one.
Kingdom, sorry.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm including the one that just came out a year or two ago.
That's already out of my mind.
I think even Kingdom is better than Rise, but...
I wouldn't go that far, but fair enough.
I mean, I only saw it the one time, and I really appreciated it then. But anyway, so when I finally sat down and watched this, back when Dawn came out, I was like completely blown away by it, and I was irritated with myself for not having grown up with it. It was kind of the same thing I had with Rocky, where I was like, "Where is this?" And Alien too, where I'm like, "Where has this been my whole life?" And like what's worse is it's one of those things that you just never bothered with because you thought you knew everything about it. Like people are always talking about it, and you're like, I had that with Jaws too, where it's like if you didn't grow up with it, you're just not in a hurry to see it. It's so in the zeitgeist, you kind of feel like you've seen it. And the thing that impressed me the most with Planet of the Apes, besides just how just the social commentary and how brilliant the what if question is in it, it's one of the best examples of like a classic kind of 60s science fiction novel brought to screen. But I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. I mean, in terms of this being like the cultural osmosis thing, 'cause this is
Yeah.
the type of movie that you kind of do just know everything just by
Yeah.
living in the
Sorry,
world we
that's what I
do.
was gonna say. Is
But
I was just
yeah,
surprised by how well it held up. Like knowing the ending, knowing the twist at the end. I
it works
It
completely.
was really easy to kind of, not that I put it out of my mind to the point where I was surprised by it, where I got to the end and I was, oh, that's right, I didn't realize we were on Earth the whole time. But somehow it didn't. I'm spoiling Planet of the Apes because it's a request and everybody here will know how this ends, I'm sure. But I'm watching it and finding it really easy to just like let it wash over me and put myself back in the time and place and kind of appreciate what it was after. And I think what I didn't get about it, just knowing that it had that big twist ending, is how much of a Twilight Zone episode it was.
Yes, this is absolutely just a big Twilight Zone movie, and obviously it is Rod Serling. Sterling. I
Certainly.
always get it mixed up because it's
Yeah, it's
so
Rod
close.
Serling.
Serling. Yeah, and obviously he wrote it, but like you really feel that DNA in there.
Yeah. Well, and the the big takeaway I had watching it again today, because I saw this again maybe a year ago, and I didn't even think about this then, is just how much of, like, if you know it start to finish, it's absolutely a Twilight Zone episode. But if you didn't know how it ended, it's actually a TOS episode until the ending. Like, it's a Star
Mhm.
Trek episode, and then it turns into a Twilight Zone episode.
Well, I was thinking that a bit today, and that it's interesting because this is what, like right around when that gets canceled, or is
The
this
year
maybe a little bit
before, yes,
before?
this
Year
is
before?
68, and it's got a lot of I like just visually and atmospherically, and like in score especially. There's a lot of stuff that just feels like Star Trek in this.
Hmm. No, because I was thinking about that today, and that it's interesting how both of the 60s and kind of ahead of its own time it is, in that this is around when, something like a TOS is. And you're right, there is absolutely that DNA, but it's also not like kitschy in that way, like if that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels a little kitschy just in the kind of tongue-in-cheek references to monkey stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess like in some of that stuff, but I was thinking more so like the sci-fi element, with them landing on the planet and
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely. We're not doing anything with the tech, so which is
Yeah.
nice because there's nothing that especially dates this. It
Hmm.
only feels 60s to me in that I've seen a lot of 60s movies and TV. So like it feels of its time in the way it's produced. Um, but it's kind of surreal going back to it because it feels like what I might have imagined a Star Trek movie to be if it had been made 10 years before we finally got Star Trek on the big screen.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking at this because, especially three, I guarantee is some of the inspiration, or at least a movie that they were thinking about when they did Voyage Home.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, no way around it. But I'm just imagining original series with the kind of production value and budget this has. And it's interesting to say that because this movie was actually scaled back from what Serling originally wanted to do with it. Like, they didn't have the resources to make the ape society as grand as he wanted it. And so it was actually rewritten by a different writer in order to back all of that off. But which actually ends up working really well thematically. Like, it doesn't feel like a compromise in the movie, even though it totally is a compromise. But I'm just imagining some of these sweeping landscape shots and all the location stuff done in Star Trek with like an arena or something. Like when we go to the desert at the beginning, I looked like the Forbidden Zone, the like barren wasteland where they crash their ship. I looked over at Jason because I watched this with all my kids this afternoon. Mikey loved this movie, by the way. My 6-year-old.
Oh, nice.
He just adored it. But I looked over at Jason and I was like, are you kind of expecting the Gorn to show up right now? Like, it's like if we shot Arena instead of at Vasquez Rock, right outside of the Grand Canyon, because that's where they shot that in this. And I was just imagining Star Trek on this grand scale.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and there's the part where they're in like the big cage too, and you can imagine like the cage fight scene where Kirk fights Spock or something.
Well, absolutely, and I mean we can go through. It's kind of obvious if you know your Star Trek at all. We can go through all the elements that feel like elements of an original series episode, but the girl that's paired with him, Nova, is absolutely a Star Trek move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Like, we do this a lot in TOS, where Kirk will get, like, imprisoned on an alien planet. Usually he has to destroy the evil computer, not fight the evil apes that are oppressing him. But then there'll be that girl that he kind of falls in love with that teaches him about the society. And this is like that, except she's mute this time. Although there is one episode where there's one that's mute. It's going to be really hard not to go to Star Trek through this, because there's also a Voyager episode that I think is kind of ripping off Planet of the Apes that I might bring up later. That I hadn't.
I'm sure there's like 8 million sci-fi shows that have ripped this movie off.
I'm sure, but yeah, I hadn't had that thought until this viewing. But yeah, I'll put a pin in that. I'll try to bring that up a little bit later.
Mm. Well, we should probably mention too, this is also based on a book, but I know the Earth thing comes from this movie as opposed to the book.
Yes.
Because that's one thing that the Tim Burton movie goes back to.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
But I don't think that movie was playing it so much as a direct adaptation of that book, was it? Wasn't it still kind of remaking the movie? But then I've never seen it all the way through. The only Planet of the Apes thing I had seen actually before Rise was like half of that, like a couple of years after it came out, and it was so boring I turned it off. Like, I just couldn't even get through it.
Did you at least get to Charlton Heston as the main ape's dad?
Yes. Yeah, I do remember that part. Robert put in a $2 super chat and says, cool how this still appeals to kids, still timeless. That was one of my big like I said, the first time I saw it, one of my big takeaways was I was like, I don't know, I almost have to put this in top 5 science fiction movies of all time, and for lots of reasons, but especially just because it still works.
Well, it's amazing to me too that this movie's G. You get like partial nudity in it and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, you should be surprised by that for visual stuff and violence and things, but also subject matter. You have a movie that's rated G where Dr. Zayas is repeatedly threatening your main character with castration.
And lobotomies, yeah.
Good Lord.
I guess if one of the Hammer Dracula films can be G, then that's okay for this one, I guess.
No, that's one of the things I love about this is there's some real risks taken in how, like, overall cynical the idea is, of course, but also just subject matter and how bleak it gets. What do you think, because I have an answer for this, is the bleakest idea or moment in Planet of the Apes?
Whoa, what is the bleakest idea or moment? I mean, the thing that
Or just the most
the
disturbing thing, the thing that makes you go, oh, because I've got one.
I mean, there's so many things to go to. I would say, like, most nihilistic, it's probably that part where they're making the grave and Charlton Heston just starts laughing. But, um, I mean, probably like the darkest thing where I'm like, oh, that's just creepy. And it's because you're so with the character and it's like, oh, like, where do you go now? It's probably when he finds the other astronaut and he's been
That's
lobotomized.
mine. Oh no,
It's
no, that's not mine. Mine is the
oh, the
other
one where it's
astronaut.
the other one. Yes,
That
no,
one's
that
effed up, dude. And I don't think I caught it before. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I noticed it today and I was like, wait a minute. I I don't know why I didn't catch it before. I must have just thought that it was some guy, but it's a taxidermied uh, version of the black astronaut that you see at the beginning, and
mhm.
I don't know how I didn't catch it before, because Charlton Heston like stares at him for a minute. He's horrified like I am, and I was like,
Oh, he's got like the white
he's
eyes.
got the contact lenses. I was like, that is the darkest thing in this movie. I think that is objectively the darkest thing in this movie.
No, probably. No, I was just thinking the other one because it's
The
like
lobotomy
that's
should
it.
bother me more, but it doesn't. It's because they're treating it's also, sorry, it's also just a really clever idea, because they're treating humans like animals, and of course they've got this insane dogma, and Dr. Zaius knows that humans are intelligent, but he's trying to suppress all of that. And like Dr. Zaius all by himself is like a deep state. It's like nobody knows everything Dr. Zaius knows. I he's doing he's a one man conspiracy.
Well, because I only knew the Simpsons thing with Dr. Zaius before I saw this film, so I always thought he was like the friend of the main character because of that, because it ends with "I love you, Dr. Zaius," and they hug.
Oh, that's really
I was
funny.
like, I was like, oh, he's like the good ape. He's gonna like help them out, and then he rocks up and it's like, oh no, he's like the scariest one, but he's
No,
also
they
always right.
no they yeah, exactly. They do that in the Dr. Zaius thing in The Simpsons, because it's like, oh, you were right all along, Dr. Zaius. Thank you so much for your wisdom. And he's still terrifying, but
Mhm.
he's got a point. You know where he's coming from, and he's ultimately trying to save his civilization from the humans that objectively ruined their own.
Yeah, and especially if you
He's
have this
sacrificing
and
progress
beneath.
for it, and I'm sorry, what?
Mhm. No, when you have this and beneath together, it's like, oh yeah, no, Dr. Zaius was right all along.
He was right all along.
But yeah, I was thinking the lobotomy one just because like it's a real rug pull. We're like, oh, this is gonna be the moment where like maybe he starts to convince some of them.
Oh yeah,
Oh
sure.
no.
Uh, but that's what I was gonna say, is like they're treating all the humans like animals, and then they have like example after example of all of the kind of messed up things that we do with animals, if you really think about it for 5 seconds. Like, especially if it turned out that animals that we like subjugate or taxidermy, or that we used to make furs out of, like et cetera, are in fact not just sentient but self-aware. And so the taxidermy thing really got me. uh,
Mhm.
but you're right, narratively the lobotomy thing is a big moment. Like, uh, Taylor throughout the whole movie just keeps running into hell after hell after hell, and
Yeah.
he needs a lot of therapy even before you get to the Statue of Liberty at the end. And then when you finally hit that, you realize, and that's so Rod Serling, of course, not just the O. Henry thing, but the idea that he's been in this purgatory or this hell the whole time and didn't realize it. It's
Mhm.
like the library episode reveal times 100. Uh,
Yeah.
it's so freaking messed up. And what's worse for him is he left Earth. He had this like cynical view of humanity, and he couldn't find somebody to settle down with. and it seems like he kind of stopped believing in the species. Like he just saw the darker side of us. We weren't making the right choices, and he goes to space. He goes, "There's got to be something better than man. I'm gonna go find it." And and like the first hell is, I found something else, but it's worse than man. And then he starts looking at humanity better. It's almost like this cautionary tale where he goes, maybe we weren't so bad off. Like maybe we were okay. He goes, well, we can't have destroyed ourselves. Look at all these things on this planet that could have killed us. Maybe it was a storm. We had that really bizarre storm moment at the beginning of the movie. Maybe a storm took us out. And he sees the Statue of Liberty. Oh, I was right not just was Dr. Zayas right. I was right all along. Humanity's awful.
They did it. They blew it up.
And the emphasis, though, and where what little like positive thinking, what little optimism is in the movie, Austin, is in the emphasis on choice. That and I feel like that's really driven home with his kind of screaming speech at the end. Like, we didn't have to do that, but we did. He's like, "You maniacs! Like, what's wrong? You didn't have to do this, but you did."
Yeah, no, because Dr. Zayas is right. We only destroy everything.
Yeah, and what I thought was cool on this viewing was realizing that all of the apes are actually right about things that we like. It's such a tight narrative that we, the audience, being with Charlton Heston, with Taylor, keep thinking that we just know objective truths, right? Like he came to the planet of the apes on a ship, and he's trying to convince the the council and convince Zayas that he is actually from space, and he's not. And so, like, there's like several other things that they keep saying that it turns out they're right about. Like even Zira is like, "You're not from space," and we're like, yes, he is. And you get to the end, no, he's not. Like, she also was right.
Yeah, she's also right, exactly. Well, I love just the differences in their culture too, like where they like can't even conceive flight as a thing.
Yeah,
like, or not as a thing, but like as a made thing. Like you can't.
They think it's impossible.
They have no desire for that.
Yeah, well, and it's the dogma holding them back.
Yeah, exactly. That's something, because I said this to you off camera, which is that this is a franchise that is really weird in that you have this movie and it's super iconic, and the rest of the franchise kind of lives entirely before it. So we never really get back to this society, with the exception of Beneath, but I don't really like Beneath.
I gotta watch that again, because I remember appreciating it the only time I saw it. But this was
It's got a really good ending.
It's got a really good ending. And I think maybe
the issue with that movie is just
good
that
enough
Heston
for me.
Didn't want to be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like Heston didn't want to be there, so they only had a limited amount of time. So it's like the first 70% of that movie is just this movie again, but worse.
It feels like the point of it is, how can we go even bleaker? Like, the only way you can get bigger and outdo Planet of the Apes is to make the audience feel even worse leaving the theater than they did the first time, and it succeeds at that. I mean, like, if that's the mission. And you could make the argument that the original, that this movie is also so much about the ending that it maybe watches a little slower than it has to, but all roads are always leading there. We've got lots of breadcrumbs. It is still an entertaining film, and like there's a lot of interesting cultural world building things happening. Like, it's not just counting the clock down, and Beneath does kind of do that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what I was going to say with that is just I really like this world where there's different apes that are representative of different things. Where you have like the orangutans are like the religious side and like the religious and government side. You have the gorillas who are more the muscle and the military, and then you have the chimps who are more so just like the kind of everyday citizens. and that's something I kind of wish we got back to now. But
Yeah.
that's something I really like in this world, where you can really see, like, oh, these different kind of apes do different things, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I also like this kind of like slow cultural progression where they had a caste system that they're kind of getting past, but you can tell that there's still a lot of corruption and bureaucracy, and uh, they haven't really fixed it yet. But on
Mhm.
paper they have. There's a lot of really smart but simple, kind of sophisticated parallels to like American politics and like social policies and things
Mhm.
with that. Oh, what I
Yeah,
meant
absolutely.
and I meant to say this earlier when I was talking about this as a Star Trek episode. The big reason that it feels like a TOS episode to me until you get to the end, where it hands it off and it becomes a Twilight Zone episode, is because the ape society feels like an Earth-like planet allegory, like you get with so many TOS episodes with your bread and circuses and your patterns of force, et cetera. And then when you get to the end and you find out that we actually destroyed ourselves and caused this in the first place, uh, it's even a lot more impactful because I like it still works as an allegory and a metaphor, but it really turns the knife when you find out that it's just history repeating itself.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, exactly.
then it's not allegory. And I here's a good question for you, Austin. Would
Yeah.
this movie be well remembered? Let's not even say as well remembered. I think we can all agree that that ending has a lot to do with why this stays in the cultural zeitgeist. But forget the Statue of Liberty of it. If this was just an Earth-like planet Star Trek episode, in its idea anyway, do you think it would still be thought of as a classic science fiction movie that people would go back to?
Um, it would probably still be really well liked. I don't know if it like becomes the big like iconic sci-fi thing. Like, I don't know if it, spawns a giant franchise and stuff after that and is
Yeah,
as well remembered. I don't know.
in
It's
its
hard to say.
way, like if it made money, I almost could see that more easily spawning a franchise.
Hmm.
You know, like if you don't have that twist ending, I think it's almost easier to move forward with it.
Hmm. Maybe. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, just because so much of this movie, like, that ending is like baked into the DNA. Where, like, I think that's why the twist, like, knowing the twist works, is because uh, like, it's so just baked in. Like, you're seeing all the crumbs and going like, oh, okay, like, here's the things that he doesn't know. Here's the things that they don't know, and yeah, so it's kind of hard to separate it.
Well, it's the consummate you got to see it at least twice kind of movie.
Sure.
Like
Hmm.
especially if you don't know that ending, somehow walking in, it is that Fight Club thing where it's like when you watch it a second time and you know where it's all going, uh, you a lot of lines start having double meanings. Like I can't remember what exactly the line is, but the first thing Dr. Zayas says makes it clear on a second viewing that like everything he's doing, that he already knows that there was a civilization there before, and that the humans have more of an intellect than he's giving them credit for, and even that he probably doesn't believe in his own religious dogma and is just perpetuating that to keep his society going.
Yeah, exactly. Once you know that, you like really see all the pieces for his motivation.
And everything he does in like at the end when he seals the cave up and he does the cover up and he's gonna put Cornelius and Zira like he's he's gonna get them thrown in prison and all of that uh is just exactly what the United States federal government would do.
Well, even going farther back than that, like it makes me think of uh, society back when it was more of like a church ruled state. Where you had stuff
Sure.
like scientists that would be like, "Oh, I think the Earth is round," and people are like, "No, it's not." Like, shut up. And uh, like you've had people in the past killed for stuff like that. Like it's more like they're in that kind of a period.
Yeah, but I think it resonates in any period you're in, which is
Oh,
why it's so
absolutely. Because at the end of
timeless.
the day, it is the kind of human nature
It's
thing. Like
just
it is
what
kind of playing
people
on.
in
We just never
power
grow.
tend to do, and
Hmm.
importantly, uh it's not always malevolent.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's especially
Like he's really
special that
just trying to keep his people safe. He's like, I know what the species has done in the past. I can't let them take over again. And he's impeding
Mhm.
progress for the sake of it. I think one of the most important like symbolic moments in the movie is when he crumples up the paper airplane.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's really nice then that we do have a sequel that is this but in reverse, where three is the apes landing in modern day. So it
Oh
is nice that
yeah.
we have that kind of comparison where it's like, oh,
You've told me
things
about this,
really
but I've never seen
don't
it.
change. Yeah, that's I think the best sequel. It's really good. At least of the original movies. I don't know. It's hard to say compared to the new ones, but
Yeah, and like the apes are proving the dark side of human nature. Like it's not that they're actually better than us because they're another species that has it figured out. They're making all the same mistakes we did.
yeah, exactly.
It's
No,
just
like you said, they're
going
just
in a
in an
circle.
earlier state. Hmm.
Okay, can I tell
If,
you? Sorry, let me read this
yes.
super chat real quick, and then I've got a point I want to make because there's a thing about this movie that has always confused me, and I want to ask you about it. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. It was back when G meant general audiences that you could let your kids watch it. Now it means grandmas and babies. G didn't mean nothing offensive. No, I'm aware of that, but it is just funny going back to stuff from this period because you and I grew up with G meaning animated Disney movies.
Mhm. Well, now G doesn't even really exist.
Yeah, we don't really have that.
Disney movies are PG now.
the The rating system has not made sense for a very long time,
If ever, yeah.
if ever. So I've always thought it's really odd that. So remember, this movie comes out in 1968. Do you
Mhm.
remember Austin? I'm gonna put you on the spot and throw a Planet of the Apes trivia question
Uh-oh.
at you. I'm gonna see if you
Uh-oh.
noticed it. Do you remember the date that we're told that Charlton Heston and his crew come from?
Oh, it's like 1975, I think. Isn't
It's
there
it's
71?
72.
Okay, I knew
So
it
they
was like
have
sometime in the 70s.
so they have this advanced spacecraft, and by the way, that's a cool ship design, inside and out.
It is
I
cool.
love that ship. So they have this advanced interstellar traveling ship. They understand about time dilation, or at least they're testing the principle of that. They think that if they go far enough out at a certain speed, that they'll not age as quickly as the time will pass on Earth, which is of course how that works and is true. We know that time is actually in a way a malleable thing, and they end up going thousands of years, much farther than they meant to into the future, and they've only aged like 1 year. And I'm going, the movie's made in 1968, and you're going to have them come from the far flung future of 4 years from now. I've always thought that's really weird. There's, because any way you slice it, what they're doing with that ship, we're just nowhere near in the vicinity of being able to do very soon. And any,
Well, we're still a year before the moon landing.
yeah, that's true. Any sci fi book that had been written about something like this at that time would have started in the future. But even weirder is that it doesn't even start at the date that it just sends it 40 years later. So it is the future, but barely. Why? I'll never understand that. And you wouldn't think anything of it if they said, like, 2072 or 2172. There's not a thing that they do that is too contemporary, or a thing that they talk about that's too contemporary. Like, set it 1,000 years later, even a couple hundred years, set it 1,000 years later, Austin, and they can, why say that? Like maybe a couple hundred years later, and he can still be from Fort Wayne, and he can still, he has like one or two pop culture references that he could still easily do. I don't understand that.
It's got to be close to Vietnam. We can't get too far away from that. I don't know.
I don't understand it. But I think that's really weird.
I feel like there's a few movies that are like that where it's like only a few years later in the far-flung future. Not that this is like...
But a lot of them it'll be 12 or 20 or 30. This is 4!
Mm-hmm. That's enough to make space travel.
One reply says maybe the date is coming from the book. Okay, but even if it is, the book came out in 63. And so it's still like 10 years later, which is still way too contemporary for what that ship is doing.
But 10 years, or I guess 9 years after 63, they were like, it's going to be
It's
crazy.
A little better if that's the case, but it's also weird that you would stick that close to the book on that one thing, because it's a very loose adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I almost wish the movie had done, Austin, this probably would have come off a little bit goofy, though. It's maybe for the best. But I did read up a little bit on the book, and apparently the expedition has a pet chimp.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I did know that.
And then when they go and see the apes, the apes are really confounded by that and really angry that the humans have a like pet ape. That could have worked. It might have been nice if that had been in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that they don't want to get too far away from a lot of the kind of harshness of the 60s, but also, I guess you could have just also said it was 68. Like, you didn't really have to go in the future, but at the same time, maybe they just thought, we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's 4 years.
I don't know.
It's weird. Like, anybody that like if you had a kid that watched this movie in like 1975 and didn't know when it came out, they would think that it was entirely contemporary. Oh, this movie must have come out in 1972.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We got to be close to like the civil rights stuff and Vietnam and all that.
Dan Schneider says
fun of the 60s.
The 2001 movie has a pet chimp.
Yes, I think it does. Yeah.
Okay, so he really was adapting quite a bit from the book. How advanced is the ape society in that movie?
Not really. I think it's more like this.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They also make the kiss at the end way weirder.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did they do a makeout scene with a chimp?
I mean, there was also like a weird chimp strip dance scene in that movie too. There's a lot of just weird stuff. I don't know. Tim Burton cast his wife as the main chimp, so
of course he did. Well, he cast her as everyone.
Mm-hmm. Not anymore, but yeah, it's weird. It's a weird movie. It's not good.
Yeah, I don't think I'm curious enough to ever go back and finish it, but unless we ever do that
overview, we have to do
that overview thing you want to do. That's what I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then we have to do that one. Unfortunately.
Dan Schneider says that movie is medieval times like this. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that. I guess it is sort of pseudo-medieval.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a...
Yeah, I guess...
it's a primitive culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mind doesn't go to medieval right off just because of the way the world looks, but you're right. Like, I guess it is kind of that period. I mean, it's a mix of things because they also have guns, but they're on horseback.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a mix of things. There's like a little bit of Renaissance in it, but
Yeah, well, and Renaissance was what I was thinking of with like the church and state thing.
yeah.
Uh, it's definitely got some of that in there.
Yeah, I meant to say this when you brought that up earlier, but there's a clear point being made in having Dr. Zayas be in charge of both science and faith.
Yeah, because he's got a really good line near the end about that, where they're like, this is uh, the head of science or whatever, and he's like, uh, it's something like rejecting faith and keeping science aren't the same, or it's something along those lines.
Yeah, well, he says that they're not contradictory, and
That's what it is.
they
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to be. Like, I don't know that the movie is necessarily making a statement against uh like religion in general, saying like if you believe in science you must reject religion. I don't think it's saying that, but I think it is saying it's it's easy for a state that isn't truly free or doesn't make its citizens truly free to it's really hard not to get political talking about this movie. To like make those the same thing.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's really coming down on like the individual for religious belief, but it is definitely coming down on like the state side of it of being run purely on that.
Yeah, I mean, more of the point of it is just to question whether human beings are a inherently good and b if we are really any better than the animals.
hmm Yeah, exactly.
Here's another question I want to ask you, Austin.
hmm
Uh, do you think that the prequel reimagining franchise could sort of actually explain how the apes gain sentience and humans lose the society with this if you ignore the fact that we don't do it with an atomic bomb in that, but like timeline wise? Because I always thought that the prequel movies uh, did it did it kind of fast, and like my thought was that it was always like a little bit more gradual than that. But
hmm
but I just wonder what you think about that. Like, if they could sort of
Yeah.
work together if you just ignore the fact that we did it biologically and not with a nuclear bomb, or could we maybe have both? Could it be like humans in a much later movie still set a bomb off at some point?
hmm Yeah, it's hard to say because even this original series doesn't really do that. Like they do retcon it later on.
Oh, do they?
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's like a whole. It becomes like a Terminator thing where it's like a time travel like reason that it happens now, and it would have been cool maybe to do. I think it's the fourth one, which is Conquest, where it becomes like a race allegory where you have humans and apes at the same time, and there's like a persecution thing there. Uh, so you maybe could have done that where you like expand that timeline a little bit. Because you're right, like it is probably a little rushed, but I don't know if that's just because they went, well, we have one movie with Rise, and then got to keep doing more movies. Like I don't know if you would necessarily start doing that if you knew you're gonna have a trilogy.
Yeah,
It's hard to say.
they were. You're definitely with that concept in a little bit of a bind, not knowing if you're going to get to make any more. Where you're like, I mean, I really respect them for trying to make it a movie,
hmm
that still stands
Absolutely.
even if they don't make any more, because it does. I mean, it
hmm
works. And also, that allows them to have their twist ending, which I always really appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's hard to do a prequel to this in that way because I never got the sense that the apes really spawn out of the humans. Like
Mm-mm.
I think they just die and then over time apes evolve. And there's not really a movie there. Like you automatically have to change that in order to make a story,
Yeah, I think this movie's
which the
pretty.
originals do too.
This movie's ambiguous about whether it's actually true that the apes evolved from humans, but
hmm
they talk about it that way, And the apes end up being right about a lot more than you'd think they were. And they keep saying that. And also, we're into the year like 3000 something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's maybe enough time that it could happen. Or is it even farther than that? I can't remember. But like it's a lot of years.
Oh, it's I want to say it's like 200 years. Like it's centuries past. I want to say so. I've always read it as it's just the same as us, where we go, oh, humans and apes have like a common ancestor, and since they're the higher ups, and humans are the lower ones, they have the same idea, and they didn't necessarily come from humans, but it's just that same like, oh, we have a common ancestor.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring this up real quick just because people keep talking about it in the comments. One
Mhm.
reply, the movie came out in the middle of the civil rights movement. It could be talking about that too. The way humans are treated as mute, inferior animals is a commentary on racism, dehumanization, segregation. Yes, absolutely. And that's, I don't think its main point, but one of its main points where it's just a human-like species making all of the terrible mistakes that we made, and again in the name of hanging on to our identity, right? And I think that's important. The word identity keeps coming up.
Mhm.
We're like we have to threaten Taylor with his loss of identity in order to keep our own identity. Uh, and it's kind of funny that the word mutant is thrown around because this ends up doing a similar thing that X-Men does. And I also think just in the way Zayas like dehumanizes the Taylor in like calling him a mutant, and it's that we're afraid of what we don't understand thing that X-Men has. And then I started realizing that Zayas has a weird amount in common with Stryker. All the way to the
Mhm.
point from X2, all the way to the point where when you get to the end of the movie, we've trussed him up against a rock and we've tied something around his neck, and like he's weirdly got a lot of Stryker in him.
Yeah,
Stryker's
I
got a
didn't
lot of
know that.
him in him.
Well, yeah, well, and then Conquest, which is that fourth one, like goes fully into that, and you get like ape concentration camps where we're like locking the apes away because we don't want them to take over, and it gets real crazy.
I gotta watch the rest of those.
Well, and do you know who Caesar's human companion is in that?
Dude, you blew my mind when you told me that Caesar wasn't made up for the prequels. Like, I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that. So, no, I
Well,
don't know this.
and he's Roddy McDowell, who is, of course, in this one as well. He becomes the main character of the sequels, like from 3 on.
Yeah.
But it's Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban's in that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to do your overview idea at some point.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it would be great.
It'd be really fun to binge those. There probably would be enough to talk about on just those original 5. Like, I don't know if you want to do absolutely everything. It might be cool to just have a discussion on that first franchise.
Yeah, and I mean, I also don't want to watch the remake again. That's probably a good idea
I kind of don't
anyway.
want to do that either. But I mean, I wouldn't mind watching like the new 4 again, and having a more generalized discussion about those, because
Mhm.
that is a good watch. But
Well, and they're really interesting to talk about side by side because the
yeah,
reboot series is really like picking ideas from Conquest and Battle
we also would probably
and
just find ourselves
expanding
doing
them.
that a little bit anyway, even
Exactly,
without rewatching
exactly.
them.
That's what I mean. Like even without rewatching it, we'll end up talking about that stuff.
One thing I was not aware of is, well, so a couple things about Rod Serling.
Mhm.
So he writes a draft, and it's unfilmable according to the studio because it would just cost too much to do the more advanced ape society that he wanted. And so they
Mhm.
bring on another writer that is credited that rewrites. He keeps the general structure of Serling's script. So Serling gets all the credit for this movie, and he did break the story completely, and they kept his original ending. So like the Statue of Liberty thing was always there. There were a lot of discussions about different places the statue might be and how he would find it. Like at one point they were going to have it in pieces, but
Oh,
but it was always there. For a long time I thought I heard somewhere that they went back and forth on whether they were even going to have that ending, but apparently that was always going to be there. Now there was talk about killing Taylor at the end, so like there could have been a somewhat different ending, but the Statue of Liberty twist was always there. But anyway, all of the dialogue was rewritten. So like, there's not a line of dialogue in this that belongs to Rod Serling. And very interestingly, there is a third uncredited writer that apparently even changed a little bit more dialogue and added some of the more cheeky like monkey lines. So the thing in the church with the priest that's like by the way, I love that set. That's maybe my favorite set in the movie is that church.
well, I just love the aesthetic of the ape world, just everything about it.
It's great. But when he says I've never met an ape I didn't like, that's the uncredited writer who added that apparently.
Yeah.
And uncredited to the point where nobody knows who he is.
Huh. Weird.
So I think that's like somebody involved in the production, I can't remember who, threw out a first name at some point. Nobody actually knows who the man is. It's so weird.
Yeah, and I think it like so much of the credit tends to go to Serling just because even though, like you said, they rewrote all of his dialogue, like, you really feel his DNA on this movie.
Yeah.
Even then, like, and it's easy if you don't know that to think like, oh, all the nihilism stuff probably came from him.
Of course. Well, and it sounds like some of the dialogue is probably more on the nose and kind of heavy-handed. I think it works for the movie, but I wonder if it didn't read a little bit more subtle with his original script. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because we should think about reviewing this at some point, apparently in 2018, and I don't know if it must have been IDW, because I think they still have the license, but there was a comic version of his script, like just like the Star Wars thing, and just like Sitting on the Edge of Forever with Harlan Ellison, and so I would really like to get my hands on that.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I had no idea that existed, but I also didn't know that it was rewritten that much. I just assumed that this was just a Serling script.
I did too until I did a little bit of reading on it. And that's why I wanted to make sure and bring that up in this discussion because everything's been said about this movie, but some of that I didn't know, and maybe some of our audience won't have known that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only so many new things you can say.
Nicholas Bodo, do you guys find it interesting that the new series, while very dark, especially with the war drama of Dawn and War, is more optimistic about human nature compared to the nihilism of the 60s series? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
I think that's true.
Absolutely. That is something that I didn't really get until I watched all the original movies. It kind of gets taken out as it goes, but like this, the second one, the third one, the fourth one originally has a really dark ending, and then the studio comes in and they kind of tone it down a little bit.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's like a whole deleted version you can find that's amazing, and then Battle kind of doesn't have any teeth, and then I do feel like the new reboot series has lost that. Rise probably is the closest to it, just by having an ending that everyone's going to die.
The argument to make for it, though, the argument to make for it is that it's prequels that are getting us closer and closer to that. And so,
and I don't have an issue with it. Like, I think it works for Dawn and War.
We're living with some human beings, some of whom are more good-natured, and some who, let their darker natures get the better of them. But importantly, they're all from And until you get to that last one, they're all from our society in the first place and living in a post-apocalypse, and so
Mhm.
I don't know how you could make it as nihilistic as these without having uh, that original idea of our society sets off an atomic bomb. Like, I mean, like you said, like the closest we get is the end of that first one.
Yeah, it's either that or we're not in the apes' heads as much. So it's darker because we're seeing ourselves collapse and we're following ourselves, but they also made the right choice in following the apes as well.
Yeah.
It also helps that those Matt Reeves films do not feel sanitized at the same time. Like
Hmm.
they're not nihilistic in the same way, but there is a lot of dark elements in it.
Yeah, you just don't have. I mean, the point is that you're not to the extremes yet.
Hmm.
And so, just by
Yeah,
definition, I
exactly.
think it would be hard to make them as nihilistic. I think if you tried that too hard, you just hate everyone involved.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's something I wish Kingdom had, where there's the whole thing where they have, the ape leader and that, and the human secretly had a gun and they didn't know and pulls it on the ape leader. And I really wish they just had her shoot him instead of the way he actually dies, where like the cartoon birds fly down and
Oh,
knock him off
yeah.
a cliff,
Yeah.
because it's like that's so much more in line with what the series is. And I just think that would have worked better. But that's like a whole other thing. We don't have
Ah,
to get into that.
you're gonna make me turn on that movie, and I enjoyed it while I was watching it. I only saw it that one time.
And I don't hate that movie. I was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of adding nothing new. Like, I don't really get anything out of this.
That's sad.
But
Really,
I mean, I don't know. It's fine. Like,
so,
it's well made.
so really quick, I want to be irritating and bring up a different Star Trek episode. So there's an episode in second season Voyager called Distant Origin, where we find out, and this is a hokey premise. It's better in the show than it sounds. It's not a brilliant episode or anything, but I like it fine. There's the
Mhm.
species that we come up upon, and we're actually from their perspective for the first like quarter of the episode, which is neat. Called the Voth, and it turns out that they are evolved from Earth's dinosaurs, and at some point went all in ships all the way to the Delta Quadrant, and the whole episode is about a pair of scientists that have this theory that their species isn't originally from the planet that they're on, and that they're from some other planet that, of course, will turn out to be Earth, and they're called heretics for going against the doctrine of the planet, uh, which basically, like with this, merges science and religion. And it's not a theocracy like this is, but they kind of worship their science as unto a god. They just don't think about it like that, but that's obviously what's happening. Uh,
Mhm.
and they they look at when they find Voyager, and they realize that they're descended from that species. They're observing the humans on the ship and looking at them like lower life forms, and so like it's very Planet of the Apes.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I just couldn't stop thinking about that episode while I was watching this today.
Yeah, for sure. No, like I said, this is gotta be like one of the most influential sci-fi films ever made. It's like this, 2001, Alien. Those are probably in the top five.
Yeah, and this is, of course, from the same era as 2001, and I don't think there really is another 60s science fiction movie that uh, has that kind of influence, that has that kind of weight.
Hmm.
Like, a lot of them are 70s and 80s.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, offhand, I can't think of another one from right then.
I mean,
Actually,
the other big
I
thing in the
forgot
60s is
this
just
one's
Star
right
Trek,
then.
but big screen wise.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
there are
exactly.
some good ones. I mean, there's like the original Time Machine, but I don't think that's a super influential movie.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nothing's really coming to mind for that period. But I'm not. You're more of a sci-fi guy than I am.
Well, I'm rusty, so it's always possible there's something I'm not thinking about right now. Robert Wild, $2 super chat. Can 100 Captain Logans beat one silverback gorilla?
Well, the first few Captain Logans would die, and then maybe over time they could overpower the gorilla.
That's
That's like a
hilarious.
really popular thing going around right now.
Oh,
This
okay.
100 men versus a gorilla who would win in a fight thing. It's been like a whole
Really?
internet thing. Yeah.
I figured he was referencing something that I'm just not up on. You know me and memes. I don't keep up.
Yes, they just announced a Steam game of that today, where it's you play as the gorilla and you have to fight 100 men. And
Of course they did.
people were already like, the meme's dead. And it was like a week ago.
Look, it takes time to program stuff.
Exactly. Give them a freaking break.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, is the silverback gorilla intelligent like in this, or just a regular gorilla? Like,
Yeah. Well, could you beat like a bonobo, like a smaller ape too? Not even just 100 of you, just you.
I I just love that you pulled that word out.
Oh, bonobos are my favorite ape to just throw at people because it's such a funny name.
One reply, don't worry, Cap, no one can keep up with memes anymore. I mean, I never tried.
I think, isn't Kobo a bonobo? I think like all the villain apes in the new series are, but I could be wrong.
You're blowing my mind that you know things uh
Different
simian
apes.
species. Yeah, these are not things that I was familiar with. That's fantastic.
That's one of my favorite things in the design of this. Obviously, it's a '60s movie, so it's a little different. But just the fact that like orangutans and gorillas don't actually look like orangutans and gorillas. Just kind of different colored chimps,
Well,
different sizes.
and this is nothing against this movie, but I think the first time I saw it, I didn't really appreciate the different species
Mhm.
because,
Yeah,
like, clearly in the face they're different, but there's not really a big size difference. Like, obviously, that's something that was a lot easier to drive home and make more naturalistic with the CG motion capture with the new movies, and the fact that you're seeing the evolution of their, you know, like walking on their front hands and all of that until they start to evolve intelligence.
yeah, and they start to talk more and stuff like that.
So it was cool
I
to
think
get to
it
see
helped.
all of that. But with this, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I guess Zeus is an orangutan. I never really thought about that.
yeah. Well, I think it helps that they also give them different colored uniforms. Like there is like a structure to it as well, where the orangutans all wear that orange,
Yeah,
and some of them have like the vests that are different colors, and the chimps wear like the green robes, and then the gorillas have like that military like uniform look where it's like purple and black.
you can see why this had a pretty successful action figure line.
Oh, sure.
Like, I don't look at this
Yeah.
and immediately think toyetic, but it had toys that
Hmm.
obviously predated Star Wars, and they had uh, there was a lot of Mego stuff with this, and I think maybe later when we started getting into like smaller, four like 3.5, 4 inch figures, we even did that with Planet of the Apes. I'm not sure, but I know there were play sets and vehicles and things, and
Hmm.
you can see why kids played with that stuff.
Well, that's why I was saying, like, that's so interesting to me as a franchise that we never really live in this world because it's such just an iconic look where you see an image from like the buildings to the apes and their outfits, and it's all just a very specific look that you recognize immediately. The franchise itself never really capitalizes on that, and I think that's interesting. Like, even the new movies haven't gotten to that place yet.
And it
I
feels
think
like
that's
it
kind of fascinating.
and it feels like it could. Like, it's really weird that this is I think Planet of the Apes as a franchise is wholly unique from anything else. I it's
Yeah.
like it keeps going, like you said with the sequels, and I've not really seen them past Beneath, but like it's weird that we keep going backwards, and Then we do
And even when we
the
rebooted, we
prequel
still
movies. We
started
still went
backwards.
backwards. And
Mm.
we've got a prequel reimagining series that has gone on longer than any of those ever have.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really crazy when you think about it. This is kind of the Zelda in its way, where the end of the timeline is the first two, and we just keep going back.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Like, you and I were talking about this off camera, and I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about things like 007 and Godzilla. Like, there are other reboot franchises that have lasted longer, but in doing a prequel reimagining thing and then franchising it, nothing's ever managed what this has done.
Hmm.
That's
Well, this
pretty
is
that's
such
pretty
a
crazy. And I know that's a
this
real
is
specific niche thing, but we've tried it a lot. I
mhm.
where you go, well, there's really nowhere to go but backwards. And so we do that, and then it fizzles out, or there's only a trilogy to be made, and it wouldn't really make any sense to go further. Weirdly, uh, the closest parallel I can make to this is Bates Motel, where like you reimagine the thing, and that's a TV show, but like you do a prequel reimagining thing, and then you eventually catch up to the actual thing you're making. We haven't done that with these yet, but I'm still kind of waiting for it.
Yeah. Well, I wondered if we would do that, or at least get closer to that with Kingdom, if we would jump like 100 years, because we can. I think they still jump quite a bit, but not as far as this original is.
They
But
did. It was like 80 or 100 years that they jumped.
mhm. Yeah, I thought it might look a little bit more like this, and then it kind of doesn't really. But they could get there over time.
I feel like they're getting
Um,
closer with the society at the start of that, but you're right. It doesn't look just like this.
well, we're still living in that place too, where it's like we can have one orangutan and one gorilla every movie. I'm like, I
Yeah.
just want the like breakdown of society where like the different apes are doing their thing. But
Like,
it's
I think it would be
whatever.
cool to do something closer to their honest to God Planet of the Apes at the end of a trilogy that starts with Kingdom.
Well, I think it's really fascinating to see what that would look like because you can't do this movie. Like you inherently can't just remake this movie because we've lived with the Ape Society through this franchise. Like
Yeah.
the human is now the outsider, so like it's already a different movie. And I mean, I guess we kind of keep doing that in the prequel series, so like it'll be hard to say, how different that will be too. But um, you immediately have to make something different.
Well, here's a radical, ridiculous idea. What if the way they remade Planet of the Apes was to do what you said the third one does, and you go with an ape to a human society way in the future, where the Planet of the Apes has now wended itself back around to humans, and just
Oh,
bypass
that'd be
Planet of the
crazy.
Apes altogether and make that the absolute last thing they do. They could have
The
two more
ape astronauts
trilogies.
go.
Yeah, ape astronauts go up, and then they wind up in what looks like the 21st century.
That would be really funny.
I don't hate it.
But,
I don't hate it, Austin.
well, that's when you can bring in the mutants from beneath. Um, but a thing that's also interesting with this as a franchise is that it's like big kind of action spectacle in a lot of ways, but also smarter. And we lose that depending on some of the movies, but for the most part, that is like a pretty consistent thing across the franchise. Where this is typically about stuff. Like it is still a sci-fi sci-fi thing. It didn't lose its core.
And it's real talky, and the
Mhm.
climax isn't about a big showdown or really about a fight at all.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's definitely become more actiony over time, but that's just shifting blockbusters. Like it is
Absolutely.
actiony now in the way that this was actiony back then. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and again, this comes out around the time is 2001. Like we didn't even think about these things in terms of blockbuster, and your big spectacle movies were just different. They were just about different things,
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
or they were total schlock, and this just isn't that.
Hmm. No, and it could have been. You easily could have made like a really schlocky movie with this premise.
Well, I think it shocked critics at the time that it was so thoughtful and about something.
Hmm. Definitely. Everyone's saying in the chat that the big takeaway here is you need to watch Escape, which is the third one.
Yeah, I really want to now.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll do that overview thing at some point.
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
I'll put that on my list. My ever-growing, gigantic list of the things that we want to do. Well, Austin, what else have we not talked about with Planet of the Apes? I'm by the way, I'm holding my I forgot I owned this. I have a triple pack that has the first three. So I've got Escape right here. I forgot I even owned that movie, but I've got one.
Oh, there you go. I actually don't think I own any of these movies. I might own. I think I own that initial reboot trilogy, but I think I just took them to my mom's cottage and dropped them off there. I don't think I actually own them anymore. But they're all on Disney Plus. So
Yeah, the
I'm not too concerned.
reboots, the reboot movies are usually streaming. The originals are almost never streaming.
Are none of them on Disney Plus for you guys?
No, I don't think.
Oh, that sucks.
The original certainly was not.
Hmm. Oh, that sucks.
I'll check. That's why I went to my Alphabet with my physical media to see if because I didn't think I owned a copy of this. I was like, I'll check. I might have to rent it, and then it turned out I had one, and I was like, oh, good.
Hell yeah, yeah. I think we got them like 2 years ago now. They all popped up on there. Damn Disney.
Yeah, our Disney Plus only has Kingdom right now.
Weird.
Yeah, that's all. That's all
You
it's
can
got.
only watch the fourth one.
Just because it's the most recent, I guess.
Yeah. Weird. There must be some sort of licensing stuff that they have. I don't know. Who knows?
How far down the Planet of the Apes rabbit hole am I going to go, Austin? Because I was looking at a few minutes of the first episode of the cartoon show from '75, and it's better than it has any right to be. What I was looking at with the intro is awesome.
Well, I've heard the Marvel comics are really great, so that's another rabbit hole to fall down into.
Oh, I forgot that Marvel got the license with that.
Yeah, that's probably like around the 80s, I think. I don't know, maybe 80s. Maybe even or into the 70s. I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, Dan Schneider says they're on Hulu, but if they're on Hulu, I don't really understand why they're not showing up on Disney.
Oh, yeah, because you can get them, like, combined now, right?
Yeah, and if you're subscribed to Hulu, even if you didn't buy a bundle, Hulu things pop up when you search on Disney. But those didn't come up. So I don't know if I'm just not logged in or something with Hulu, but anyway.
Stupid Disney.
Stupid streaming services. I think about axing all of my streaming services on a regular basis now. Because so many things that I need to watch for the channel, I'll end up having to rent anyway. And I'm like, how much money am I really saving by subscribing to services? I almost think I would not be paying that much more if I just rented everything.
Well, maybe they're in the Disney vault. Who knows? There was a thing like that because I always thought the
Disney vault.
Yeah, well, I think they still do that with animated movies. I always thought that was kind of neat because then you get kind of excited and go out and buy it. Like, it's a good marketing strategy.
Yeah, it is.
But there was a thing a while ago where I heard, I think it was maybe like Die Hard or something, where they're like, "Oh, we're putting this Fox movie in the Disney vault for now," and I was like, "You can't do that, just because you bought that company."
Well, I mean,
yours.
Yeah, except everybody thinks of Star Wars as Disney now, and Marvel is Disney. Like, if they did that with that, then why wouldn't we now think of everything Fox as Disney?
Can they, like, preemptively put Doomsday and Secret Wars in the vault?
They can do anything they want to, Austin.
They're Disney, yeah, of course they can.
What didn't we talk about with Planet of the Apes? Oh, one thing I found out about that I was sorry, I just remembered this, that I was not aware of, is apparently there was a whole subplot about Nova being pregnant. Did you know about this?
So I did not know that. I wondered that watching it this time, and I don't know why, but rewatching it, I was like, we're talking about that so much, and they mention it so many times. I was like, I feel like there could have been something with that.
Yeah, that like they're
Interesting.
supposed to breed, and then Zaius comes in and says, "No, I'm going to castrate him," and it's almost like part of the conflict is like will he be able to procreate and keep the human species going? I feel like that's sort of in the background. And then when they ride off into the sunset together at the end, you've got to be thinking, oh, they're going to go repopulate the species. Or not. I mean, I guess there's humans there too, but like help with that. Because obviously two people couldn't do that by themselves anyway.
Speak. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. That would be way more dark in Beneath if she was pregnant.
That's true. Well, so apparently there's a bunch of footage they shot. So there's actually like another cut you could make where that's there. And apparently the studio axed it. It was kind of a big mystery as to why they thought that was a bridge too far with some of the other things that they allowed to stay in. But
Weird.
But yeah, what I read was the prevailing the prevailing theory is that it's like something while you're watching it you think that they're like kind of technically different species, and so people might turn on it because of that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it's weird because when you get to the end of the movie you know that they're not different species, so why does it matter?
Yeah, I don't know. Bizarre. One reply is happy it got cut, though. I did wonder, though, like I said, just because they kept mentioning it, I was like, I feel like that could have been something.
Oh, and the other prevailing theory is it undercuts the ending, which I think is true.
Yes, probably.
That, like, I don't know if you want to be thinking about that when the Statue of Liberty happens. It kind of depends on where you introduced it, I guess.
They could have put it in Beneath.
Yeah.
I'm pregnant.
Yeah, that'd be pretty dark. I almost think just for like how much this movie likes to turn the knife and how bleak it is, I almost think you maybe would want. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but I wonder if you wouldn't want Charlton Heston's character to die in a version where she's pregnant.
Yeah, probably.
Like it's almost too optimistic that you get to the end of this movie and it's like, well, the humanity destroyed itself, but we're gonna go fix it. We'll do better this time. Like that's not really what the movie's about.
But then is that even maybe still too optimistic, even if he dies and he still has a kid? It's hard to say.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, the other way they could have done it, they could have played it. Now, I don't know. I'm not really dogging on the movie when I say this, but I did today have this split second reaction where when Zaius is about to order his men to go, I guess they're not men, his apes, to go blow up the entrance to the cave. His soldiers start to chase after Taylor and Zira, and he's like, no, let him go. We've got to go do this. And you could have done a version where they just shoot him in the back.
Yeah, just kill Taylor and Nova right there.
And then they go do the thing they were going to do anyway. Because it plays like, he's like, we don't have time to go after him. You could maybe suggest a read where Zaius is being kind of compassionate to him at this point, or that he just, doesn't believe that he's going to survive, and so there's no reason to even bother with him now. But that would give you your bleak ending still with she's pregnant. Is like, we've known for maybe the last half hour that she's pregnant, and then Zaius is like, no, go right into the sunset. We don't care, and then psych, shoot him in the back. And also, his saying psych right there would have gone pretty well. Well, he wouldn't actually say that, but would have gone pretty well with his turning back to Cornelius and Zira and being like, no, never mind. Your careers are still over and you're going to prison.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done that, but then I don't know how
the Statue of Liberty thing.
Then I don't know how exactly the Statue of Liberty thing happens, because that's wonderfully well set up when Zaya says he's going to go find his destiny, and when before that he says you may not like what you find. Like, you have to have okay. So then what you do is he finds the Statue of Liberty. I'm not actually suggesting I want any of this. I think this movie is pretty well perfect the way it is. But
yeah,
he comes up to the Statue of Liberty, you maniacs, and then a bunch of gorillas come up with horses and shoot him.
And then they look up and they're like, "Oh God, space balls!" And then you see the space balls climbing out of the nose of the Statue of Liberty.
They show up in horses. It cuts to black. And then all through the credits, instead of listening to ocean waves, you're just hearing gunfire. Just the whole credits.
Just shoot them for like a solid 5 minutes. That is.
I think he's dead. I think you got him.
That is one of the best parts of that scene, though, is that there's no music and it's just the sound of the ocean over it. And then you cut to credits, and we still have that.
I love that, like, just the kind of sunk, hopeless feeling that you have walking out of this. I can't imagine what that was like in the theater in '68, man.
Yeah, I can't at all.
And like, nobody would have seen anything like that.
I bet you there is at least 10 people that walked out and was like, "Those damn monkeys killed us all."
those maniacs. That movie theater was a madhouse.
Those maniac apes, they killed us all. And they lied about it.
Is there anything you would change about this movie? Like, I feel like it's nigh perfect. It's a little slow in places. It's about my only complaint. I don't even know what I would do about that. It's also the 60s. So, like place and time historical perspective, like, we did pace things like this a lot, and it's, especially once you get into the 70s, but like, it's an hour 50 minutes. I feel like it feels a little longer than that.
Interesting. So I don't have that at all. Like, I think that's part of where I feel like this is almost timeless in a sense. Like, I don't have that like old pacing at all.
Okay.
No, I don't. I honestly can say I wouldn't change anything. Like, I do think it is a perfect movie. I think it's one of those things where even though I know exactly where it's going and what's happening, I'm so just lost in the intrigue, and like, I love being in the society. I love all the characters. Like, all the performances are great.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing I would really change about it. We didn't really talk about them too much, but Roddy McDowell, and I forget the actress that plays Zira, but they're both amazing.
Yeah.
Dr. Zayas, of course, is amazing.
I think she's got one of the harder roles in the movie.
Mm-hmm. But she's got to do a lot of like emoting through that makeup, and that is not easy, I'm sure.
Well, like, that's the thing I almost want to complain about. We're like all of the
Kim Hunter, thank you, Robert.
All the performances with the ape actors are, of course, really impressive, but you almost wish that the faces could be more expressive, and there's like nothing you can do about it, because that's just what it would look like. Like, it's not even a limitation of the makeup, it's just the species you picked. It's not that expressive.
Yeah, and I think there's moments where like it seems like their mouths don't close fully and things when they talk, which is a makeup thing, but it's like there's only so much you can do. Like, it is a hard thing, it's something you just have to give the movie.
Yeah, and there's a charm to it.
Yeah, well, especially because you talked about
that is the one limiting thing with it, though. You're right.
And you talked about Serling's idea, though, being like so much bigger. The budget will immediately be cut after this film. Like, even with Beneath, you get a lot of the like 3 apes in the foreground look really good. The people in the back are wearing like crappy Halloween masks.
Oh, that's rough. Well, it's for the best then that they didn't go with the real advanced society, because they couldn't have made sequels if they did.
Yeah, they probably would have had to do something like Escape even earlier, like maybe even second. Just we can't afford to have a society of apes. Just get rid of that aspect.
It opens with a giant explosion.
Well, you just have that ending scene, and Taylor is leaving them, and he's like, "I have to go now. My planet needs me." Boop, 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 boop.
The next movie opens, they just blow up a matte painting, and then
they just blow up a globe.
It's like a snow globe of the planet of the apes.
I was thinking just like a globe, like it still has that like metal piece, like for the stand. You just like spin it, hit record, blow it up.
You know, something else that's unique, this will be the last point I make, something else that's unique to this franchise, though, unless you can think of another one, Austin, is the consistent titling scheme that it does with sequels and prequels.
Yes.
It's kind of
even
neat.
when we reboot.
Everything has to be the something of the Planet of the Apes. Even the cartoon show did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we really owned that.
They didn't even call it Planet of the Apes, the cartoon or the animated series or whatever. Like, I can't remember what it was called, but it even had one of those titles.
Oh, it was Return?
That's what it was.
Return
Yeah. To the Planet of the Apes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
It could have even just been the Planet of the Apes Returns.
What's returning? The title? The franchise?
The planet.
The planet
Like,
came back.
It's gotten to its exact cycle place again around the sun. It's returned to that spot.
And then in the late 90s, there was a documentary about the franchise made called Behind the Planet of the Apes.
Ah.
Like, even that did the title scheme, the titling scheme. I don't know. I love that. It's got its own thing.
We need on top of and in front of, because we have beneath and we have behind.
Paralleled
with every angle.
Paralleled with the Planet of the Apes. Adjacent to the Planet of the Apes.
Don't put it behind Disney. We will get the multiverse one where the old ones cross over with the new ones, and it will be called Parallel of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, there's this other Planet of the Apes that is exactly paralleled with ours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, the MCU Spider-Man movies did the home thing, but I can't think of another franchise that, like, always has a scheme like that.
Mm-hmm. When even that's dropped it at this point, so
right.
It's not like,
it's not like the whole franchise.
Yeah.
I guess The Matrix has it with our names.
Yeah,
but
that's true, too.
It's not as hard and fast as this. Yeah, and also this is a lot more hard and fast because it's like, you know... something of the Planet of the Apes, where that's just, it always starts with an R. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's always plural. So I guess that's the best one I can think of that's similar. But anyway, I'm digressing massively.
Eventually we're going to do like the reverse Alien, and it's going to be the Planet of the Ape, and there's just one. we do need the King Kong Planet of the Apes movie at some point, though.
Oh, sure.
King Kong's public domain. Make it happen.
No, I love the Planet of the Ape idea. That's fantastic. Where you do the...
You know what that'll be?
You do the reverse of Aliens and Predators, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking that's your, like, Commandy or like that kind of a thing, like, or like Why the Last Man or whatever. Like, there was only one ape left. It's the Planet of the Ape. All the other apes have died out. It's the last one.
Robert, it's pretty crazy. We got 5 films, live action TV show, and a cartoon in just 7 years for this franchise. What I was surprised by is how close the sequels come out to each other, because there's 3 years where they do one every year, and I'm like, well, if they drop the budget that hard, it kind of makes sense that they did one every year. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe wait 3 or 4 years and then build some money up. Jeez. like why did they put them out so close to each other? They didn't even make them all together, I don't think. Like, why did they do that?
You said that like there's a George Carlin bit where he's like, I hate people who use credit cards for small transactions. Do not pay like 13% interest on Tic Tacs. Go get some money.
Go get some money.
why, why don't you wait? Go get some money.
Yeah, it takes as long, like in between movies, just to make the makeup. If you were going to try to make it look as good as this movie, why don't you take your time?
Exactly. You got to Matt Reeves it. You got to take like 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think a film franchise like this ever needs a movie every year.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that was like pretty big back then with like big franchises doing the annual
especially
drop.
horror movies, but
yeah, and Bond was annual for a
was
for
it
a bit.
really?
Too.
I didn't know that.
I think now I'm questioning it.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that movies were like Call of Duty at one point.
Yeah, it was just what you did back then. Now you'd never do that now. The funniest I think is King Kong because that's like a crazy, like effects heavy film that are the original 30s one, and the sequel comes out like something like 6 months later. And it's so much cheaper because of that.
Of course. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
God, just build up some money. Go get your Tic Tacs.
Go get some money. I thought I was right. Yeah, Dan Sten says that Connery Bond was annual. I thought it was.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and get going, bid you farewell, but thanks a lot for watching. Austin and I will be back again tomorrow night for one more stream for this week. We're going to do Batman Forever on the Superhero Rewind commentary project, so join us for that. I've said my piece and talked about that movie a lot, so we'll just have, for Rewind, probably a more kind of fun, laid-back discussion with that, but we'll see what Austin brings to us with that and see if I have any new thoughts going back to it. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. This was Austin the Day Ghost.
Yeah, and I haven't watched that in probably like 10 years at this point, so it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. See what happens. Anyway, later, folks. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody.